Drink water, check. Clear throat, check. Test microphone, check. Close cabinet, check. You're listening to Tripod, the Trilingual Podcast in its English version. If you're passionate about the miracle of human language and human voice, you've reached your destination. Are you an Egyptian Colloquial Arabic learner, a Modern Standard Arabic learner, a Classical Arabic learner, an Arabic learner anyways, any other language learner? You've reached a new world. Well, a new language is a new world. Welcome to Walk Like an Egyptian. Rather, talk like an Egyptian. Thank you for joining the very first room on Clubhouse from the club Talk Like an Egyptian. This club is derived from the newly released book, Talk Like an Egyptian, Bilingualism. It's co-authored by Matthew Aldrich and myself, El-Nour. I know my name is a bit difficult. So, today I will be giving a very brief intro or orientation on the Arabic language in general, all the way to the Egyptian dialect or the Egyptian Colloquial Arabic, and then an introduction to the book, and then we will go through Keda, which is the very first chapter of the book, and it's one of the very high frequency used words in Egyptian Arabic, and then afterwards we can have questions. So, let me just introduce myself to you guys, a little bit about myself. My name is El-Nour. I'm Egyptian, of course, from Alexandria. I'm a trilingual voiceover artist and language specialist. I have specialized in the Turkish language. However, my passion for English and Arabic has never stopped. I taught Arabic, I taught English, I taught Turkish, and I do voiceover in Classical Arabic, in Modern Standard Arabic, in Egyptian Colloquial Arabic. I do voiceover as well in Northern American English and in the Istanbul Standard Turkish. I have a master's degree in the Turkish semantics and linguistics applied on Arabic into Turkish Quran translation, and I have 3 published books in Egyptian Colloquial Arabic, the last of which I've just mentioned, Talk Like an Egyptian, which has been released May 2021. Like I just mentioned, let's just go deeper into Arabic. I mentioned earlier that I do voiceover in Classical Arabic, Modern Standard Arabic, and Egyptian Colloquial Arabic. Of course, anyone can say that I want to learn Arabic. However, that's a very broad sentence, or that's a very broad goal to set. When we say Arabic, you have to be like aim-oriented. Why exactly do you want to learn Arabic? Of course, we know that it's one of the top spoken languages in the world. It's spoken by 350 million people around the world. It's a Semitic language, and it has a very sacred status, or a high status for 1.8 billion Muslims around the world. And its alphabet is 29 letters. It's a very deeply rooted language, a very ancient one, and it has 16,000 root words. And when I say root words, it's not words as in vocabulary, it's root words. The Arabic language, when you have a root word, you can have up to 40-something derivatives from the very same root. So to that extent, it's very multi-diverse and very rich and multi-layered language. Now, going to how linguists, and especially non-Arabic linguists, classify Arabic, they classify it into Classical Arabic, and then Modern Standard Arabic, and then Colloquial Arabic. Now, Classical Arabic is the clearest example of it is the Quran, which is the holy book for Muslims, and ancient poetry as well. The Quran was revealed 1400 years ago, and at that time, the Arabs were so eloquent. They would like say good mornings in poetry. They were so poetic, and we can say that they could, like improvise poetry just on the spot. And when we say poetry, because I used to write poetry in English when I was in high school, but just amateur poetry, to write a verse of poetry in English is much, much easier than it is in Arabic. In Arabic, it's a whole different system that has to have within a morphological aspect, kind of like a certain tone that you have to go through, just like melodies in a way. So to that extent, they kind of reached a peak, and this is why Muslims believe that this is the language that was chosen by God to carry his final message So it was challenging, and it wasn't poetic, it wasn't poetry. And the interpreters of the Quran use ancient poetry, Arabic classical ancient poetry, as a reference to interpret some of the vocabulary in the Quran. And likewise, the Quran has now become the main reference for classical Arabic. So if you want to look up something, or if you want to check or double check something, you can have it referenced from the language of the Quran. So it has become like the protector or the main reference and the main margin for the classical Arabic. A little bit about the Quran. It's 30 parts, including of 114 surahs. Surah is like the chapter, a special name for the parts of the Quran. It has like 6,236 ayah, and ayah is like the verse, but verse is more used with poetry. Yet ayah in Arabic means a sign, so it's like every line is a sign in itself, and it's consisting of 77,437 words. So this is the same book, all the way from 1442 years ago, and until today, it's the same number of words, the same copy that is around every Muslim around the world. So this is, like we said, the reference for the classical Arabic. By the way, classical Arabic in its early ages had no dots, no diacritics. When we say diacritics, it's the tashkil. I think you guys know it. It's the signs put to give the vowel sounds. And guess what? It had no prolonged vowels as well. Back in the time, the alif and the waw and the ya, they only had the function of a sound and w sound and then y sound. In the early generations, I think I'm not quite sure about that, but maybe 4 centuries or 5 centuries later, it has become, when so many people have accepted Islam and started learning the Quran, being not Arab, they couldn't understand it that easily. So these additions were made to the language by adding dots and by adding diacritics later on, and by using a and w and ya as a prolonged vowel sound, which just proves the point that to what extent the Arabs back then, when it was first revealed, have reached already the peak. So it was very challenging for them, and even up to this day, it's still challenging as a text, because it doesn't only require a certain type of reading, rather it has something that's called recitation rules. So even the phonetic aspects of every letter in the Quran, that's only special for the Quran, changes according to the modes of recitation. So this is pretty much all about the classical Arabic. The main reference for it is the Quran, and of course ancient poetry, like we said. Now, going down to the second level is the modern standard Arabic. We can say that this is, when we say Fusha Arabic, it carries both the classical and the modern standard. And then when we say Ammiya, which is the colloquial or the dialect, it carries all the different dialects of Arabic and all the colloquial Arabic language. Going down from the classical Arabic to the modern standard Arabic, we can say that it's a diluted version of classical Arabic that's used nowadays in official mediums. It's like a simple proper Arabic, a simple Fusha, a simplified version of Fusha. It's not that classical, it's not the same language of old poetry or the same language of the Quran. However, it is a simple version of Arabic used in the official mediums, like in documents, in politics, in news, in contracts. Throughout all the Arab countries, when you would write something, or when you would write a contract, it has to be written in modern standard Arabic. In the news, of course, we listen to the news. All the Arabs listen to news in modern standard Arabic, in documents and politicians and so on. But when we speak in the street, when we speak with everyone around, we never use modern standard Arabic. So this will take us down to the next level, which is the colloquial Arabic. Now, the colloquial Arabic is very diverse. We can classify it mainly into the Egyptian colloquial Arabic. We have the Levantine colloquial Arabic, we have the Gulf colloquial Arabic, and we have the Moroccan or Tunisian colloquial Arabic. Each of them can be looked at as a language family of its own. When we say Levantine, it includes the Syrian colloquial Arabic, it includes the Jordanian colloquial Arabic, the Palestinian colloquial Arabic, and the Lebanese colloquial Arabic. When we say Gulf, it already includes the Saudi, the Emirati. When we say Moroccan, because as Arabs we call these countries the Moroccan lands, which is Morocco, Algeria, and Tunisia, they all have something in common when it comes to the colloquial system of it. But of course, the Algerian colloquial is different from the Tunisian colloquial, is different from the Moroccan colloquial. So to that extent, it's very, very diverse. Now, when we go to the Egyptian colloquial, it's the most commonly understood by all Arabs. And this is why it's the most commonly learned as well. If we ask ourselves why would that be? One, it's because, like we said, there are around 350 million Arabs. 100 million Arabs alone are only in Egypt. So this has to do with it. This is one. Number two, of course, is the geopolitical and cultural status of the country among the Arab countries in general, and thanks to the media, because they call Egypt the Arab Wood. It's very common that any Arab around the Arab world would be familiar with Egyptian top celebrities from the movies and from the series and from the media in general. But it's not very much the same when it's the other way around. If you ask me about the top celebrities in Syria, I wouldn't really much know, except those who happen to, contribute to Egyptian movies or Egyptian series and so on. And of course, when people learn the Egyptian colloquial Arabic, they tend to learn the standard, which is the Cairene. The Egyptian colloquial Arabic used by the people of Cairo, the capital. So the Cairene Egyptian colloquial Arabic. Does this mean that there are no other colloquials within Egypt? Of course not. There is the Alexandrian Egyptian colloquial, and it's very much close to the Cairene, except for some diacritics when used around some verbs, and very, very minor vocabulary as well. We have the Delta accents or dialects, and they are very much diverse. We have the Saidi, which is in Upper Egypt. So each and every one of them is totally different from the other. However, of course, they all have the same system. And looking at all of that, they all have the same system when it comes to Arabic in general. So when you say, I want to learn Arabic, you have to be target-oriented. It doesn't make sense for someone who wants to learn Arabic, for example, let's say to learn the Quran or to study the Quran, to be learning the Lebanese colloquial Arabic. It will not help them. Or for someone, some people, of course, learn the language just for the love of learning a new language, and it's a mental and a cognitive and your logical workout, and it's awesome. It's a great thing. However, for those who are purpose-oriented, they have to know why they are learning this language. And because so many people learn Arabic, when I've met so many people who are foreigners living in Egypt, and they would come thinking that just because they know modern standard Arabic, they can simply just get along with anyone around. But that's not the case. So if you're coming to live in a certain country, then you need to learn the basics, at least, of this Egyptian colloquial, of the colloquial, Arabic of it. Accordingly, if you're coming to Egypt, then learn a little bit of Egyptian colloquial. If you're coming to Lebanon, then learn the Lebanese or the Levantine in general colloquial Arabic, and so on. If you want it for a career, for a translation, to work in some official mediums, for politics whatsoever, then you really need to learn the modern standard Arabic, and so on. This was a very, very, as much as I could, a very, very brief intro to the Arabic in general. I'm sorry if it took a little bit longer than it should. But going next, I will be giving a very brief intro to our club. Now, Talk Like an Egyptian, like we said, is derived from the book Talk Like an Egyptian, Bilingualism. It was co-authored by Matthew Aldrich and myself, El-Nour, and the publisher is Lingualism. Lingualism is a website. It's a language learning website, and it publishes so many books in many languages, mostly in Arabic, and it's very focused on different colloquial Arabic. So you will find Tunisian books, and you will find Lebanese books and Egyptian books and so on, for those who are interested as well. Of course, the book is available on Lingualism as an ebook, and it's available on Amazon as a paperback copy. Talk Like an Egyptian will also be, this room is recorded, so it will be edited later and transformed into an episode of Talk Like an Egyptian, which will be hosted by a podcast called Tripod, the Trilingual Podcast, a podcast created by me. It's still in its early stages, and it will be posting episodes of things around human language and human voice in Arabic and in English and in Turkish as well. This is why it's called Tripod, the Trilingual Podcast. Back to the intro of the book. I'm coding here. If you're old enough, you will remember learning to walk like an Egyptian back in the 1980s. Little did you know back then that you would be learning to talk like an Egyptian decades later. But that's easier said than done. One of the greatest challenges in learning any language is mastering idiomatic expressions, so you can sound more natural and better understand native speakers. Most learning materials, dictionaries, and even course books may present idiomatic expressions and adverbs, but usually with a simple translation and little guidance on when and how to use them. And that's why Talk Like an Egyptian is a unique and powerful language learning tool for intermediate learners. We go into depth with each word or phrase, providing detailed explanations, both literal and figurative translations and dialogues that show you just how native speakers use it in context. We were careful to include only natural, high-frequency expressions in current use so that you can be confident in using them to sound more fluent and impress your Egyptian friends. Yalla bina. Let's go. Now, the book is divided into main 6 sections. The first section is key expressions. Section number 2, being negative. Section number 3, addressing people. Section number 4, numbers and idioms. Section number 5, God. Section number 6, hand. And it's all about idiomatic expressions around these main titles. Today, we will start right away. In the very first chapter of section 1, which is key expressions, we will be discussing the meaning and the usage of the word Keda. Now, other Arabs, non-Egyptian Arabs, always refer to Egyptian Arabic as the language of Keda and the language of Ba'a and the language of Mish. So some people joke around saying this. And because Keda is a very high frequency used Egyptian word, Ba'a is the same. Some people believe Keda is untranslatable, which is not the case in most cases. Ba'a is mostly untranslatable, we can say. And the mish, because we use the mish word in negating a sentence. And a mish aiza, and a mish aiz, and a mish so-and-so. Or even we split it when we negate a verb. ما عملتش, عملت, ما عملتش, or عملت, ما عملتش, if it's Cairene. This is why they joke around saying this is the language of Mish.
Sorry for interrupting. You said that Ba'a is not translatable?
Well, in the Egyptian, at least, most of the time.
So you use it in another way?
Not Ba'a as the verb. We use it as a filler a lot of the time. We can say that something is untranslatable on a linguistic level or on a translation level, but of course it still has a translation. However, it's very high frequency use to the extent that you really can't tell its exact meaning other than the fact that it's a filler most of the cases. That's not the verb ba'a.
Oh, okay.
When I say Muhammad ba'a asabi, for example, Muhammad has become more nervous or more angry and so on. So in this case it's a verb, ba'a. But ba'a as a filler word in Egyptian?
We use it like ba'a, we use it as like anymore.
No, that's, no. We don't use it in that sense.
We use it this way, yeah. Okay.
We can say yalla ba'a, but it's really...
It has many meanings.
Yes. Mostly fillers. So let's go right to Keda, which is also a high frequency word. Many people think that it's untranslatable. However, it is translatable. It has so many layers of meanings. So let me send you guys the link to this chapter. It has been posted as a blog as well. Just give me a moment. Are you an Egyptian Colloquial Arabic learner, a modern Standard Arabic learner, a Classical Arabic learner, an Arabic learner anyways, any other language learner? You've reached a new world. Well, a new language is a new world. Walk like an Egyptian. Rather, talk like an Egyptian. A book on key idiomatic expressions for sounding natural in Egyptian Arabic, available on Amazon and lingualism.com.
Hello, I'm happy to be here in this room. I'm newly opened an Instagram account to teach the Egyptian dialect, and I was invited by Ala to this room, and actually she's speaking very well about Keda. I always thought how to add this word in my posts, but it's really hard to find one translation for this word. It's widely used every day in many situations, and in each situation it's not translatable really. So I now feel how important to make just a room for this word, this small word.
I thought of this like ba'a, not keda. Keda we don't use it in Lebanese, but we use ba'a a lot actually, and I've never thought of the different meanings of it, and that it's actually really, as Allah said, that is not translatable. It's really interesting, even for us natives.
Yes, actually, I found more about my dialect when I started to teach it. When you just speak in daily life with your dialect without thinking, it's something
exactly.
so normal. But when you start to teach it, you say, wow, all these hidden points and hidden differences between Fusha Arabic and dialect, and you find so many new verbs different than the normal verbs you have, like cry. It's يبكي in Fusha, but in dialect it's يعيط. Something, where did this come from? So you have so many new verbs for the learners.
Thank you so much, Sharif.
Hello, Ala. I'm happy to be in this interesting room.
Thank you so much. The pleasure is mine, really. I'm so happy for having you all. We can go by turns if you guys would like. I'll be just reading the very introductory paragraph, and then we can go through the different usages of Keda. So, Keda is likely the most quintessentially Egyptian word there is. Not only is it very high frequency in everyday speech, but it is unique to the Egyptian dialect. Keda is related to the modern standard Arabic word hakada, like this, but takes on a range of idiomatic meanings on its own and in phrases. Many learners make the mistake of translating like this literally as Zayyida, but this only works if you mean such as, okay? If you mean to say this way or in that manner, then you should use Keda. So the broad meaning and the general meaning of Keda is this way or in that manner. In Egyptian, when we say da, it's from hada or the, which is to say this. How we made it into Egyptian, we just removed the ha, so keeping only the, and then we transformed the sound into da, so it became da. So from hada, it has become da. Likewise, hakada, we omitted the ha sound, and then kada became kida in Egyptian. So it means this way or in that manner. We can go by turn from how the names are written. So we can start with Uwiju. Can you read the very first, not the very first paragraph, not the very mini dialogue? Can we start from Hiya Shagara, the second Arabic mini dialogue?
I'm gonna try, but I'm not very good at reading, so be patient.
Take your time.
Okay, on page 2 or 3?
It's page 2, Hiya Shagara.
Okay. هي الشجرة بتترسم كده. هي شجرة بتترسم كده. Is it okay?
You did a wonderful job. Okay. Erica, can you read the second line in this mini dialogue?
أيوة يا
Habibi, yes.
حبيبي كده مضبوط
كده مظبوط. So,
you can use the sound in the, you pronounce like كده مظبوط.
adding to what Eric was saying, yes, the letter in standard Arabic is pronunciated in Egyptian Arabic as z, mazbut, okay, we say, and the dad sound sometimes is transformed into z sound as well. However, the sound, which is del, is most of the time transformed into del. We just tend to make everything easier in a way. So, هي الشجرة بتترسم كده. Now that's a child asking his mom or something. Is a tree drawn like this? So this is the very first meaning of كده. So he has drawn a picture of a tree and he's showing it to his mother. بتترسم كده. This way. Is it drawn like this? And she tells him أيوة يا حبيبي كده مظبوط. Yes dear, that's correct. كده as in. Now, we have to know that this is not a very literal translation, but let's go a little bit literally. Keda, this way, yes, that's correct. That's what you want to tell him. So that's pretty much the very first usage and the very broad usage of keda. Go ahead.
I just want to say, if you want to listen, there's like a triangle above the
Thank you so much, Eric. Yes, that's true. It was included in the blog, and of course, it's the whole audio of the book is available on the website for those who purchase the book, whether it's as an ebook or a paper copy. So that's the very first usage. Let's skip مش كده. We will get back to it shortly, but let's go towards the second half of the second page. Sometimes, starting with sometimes كده doesn't really translate, but serves to soften the sentence as a kind of filler. Like we were saying, sometimes it's untranslatable, as in it's just used as a filler word. So we have عابد, and we have, let's say, Eric. عابد, can you play ألف?
هننزل ولا إيه؟
I'm not sure that I will pronounce this correctly, but I try. خلينا نستنى كده شوية وبعدين ننزل.
You did a wonderful job.
Correct?
Very correct.
Okay, thank you.
خلينا نستنى كده شوية وبعدين ننزل. Now, if we remove the word كده, خلينا نستنى شوية وبعدين ننزل, it doesn't make much of a difference in the meaning. Yet كده is more of a softener. It's just a filler word. It softens the sentence a little bit.
This كده in Lebanese it's almost the same meaning, and we use هيك.
True.
If you know it, yeah.
Yeah.
We use it the same way you use كده.
That's true.
We have it also in Algerian. We use hek.
هيك. Yeah.
Interesting. كده is unique to the Egyptian.
Purely Egyptian.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
Merely Egyptian. Okay, we can go to the second mini dialogue under the same filler or softener usage. Uwiju and Segal. Can you, Segal, you play Alif, and Uwiju, you play Be or Be. Okay? Segal, go ahead.
على is it على فكرة or is
Correct. Continue. Yeah.
okay على فكرة I don't know how to say the dal the ya together.
D.
على فكرة دي آخر مرة هشتري منكم.
Perfect.
Is that
Perfect.
all right? Thank you.
ليه بس كده يا مدام؟
Uwiju.
Libes.
You're...
Uwiju is secretly Egyptian.
Yes, I was just going to say the same. ليه بس كده يا مدام. Okay.
مش من مصر.
But your Egyptian is near native, very, very...
Yeah, on point.
very advanced, mashallah. She said على فكرة, which means, by the way, for your information, this is like a tense conversation, maybe between a woman and a seller in a shop. دي آخر مرة هشتري منكم. This is the last time I'll ever buy anything from you, or I'll ever buy something from you, or I'll ever buy from you, literally speaking. And then the man responds, ليه بس كده يا مدام? If we remove كده, ليه is ليه, why? بس means but. We use it as but in Egyptian. ليه بس is like, but why? Like, why is this, you know? ليه بس كده يا مدام? Why is it like this? It can be translatable and it can be untranslatable. Here it's just a softener or a filler. If we remove it, it won't affect the meaning very much. ليه بس يا مدام? ليه بس كده يا مدام? Pretty much the same.
I have a question.
Sure, go ahead.
Do you have an alternative for the word madame in Egyptian?
Well, there's an entire chapter in this book only for addressing people, and it's very, very diverse, and it's very, very different according to the person you're addressing. If you feel like she's a young lady, you will tell her Anissa or Mademoiselle, which is originally French, and some people like the people in the street would say it Mademoiselle sometimes. Yeah, Anissa. It's the most common. Okay. And Madame, if you feel like she's married or if she's old woman. Now, if she's very old woman, you can say Hagga, which means literally someone who has been to pilgrimage and has performed Hajj. So it's like adding a layer of respectful meaning to the addressee. Okay?
Okay. I got you. Thank you.
And some people would like in a very simple sense, and you can find this in, for example, in transportation, in traffic, and so on. Some people might refer to an old woman with Ya Ummi, my mother, also as a sign of respect. But the most common is Anissa and Madame accordingly. But if you make a wrong guess, it's usually not really something that females like. So the neutral and the best way is to say ya ustaza, which is just a formal way of addressing any female, and it works for all. Married, non-married, old or young. Ustaza is like Mrs. Just like that.
Can I ask a question about what you just said? So you said something about heg. Is it hegga or just hegga? Hegga. Okay.
Or in Arabic we say hajja. In my accent, yeah.
I keep confusing with that word. You just said I was automatically thinking with, my fish hag, like hag, that one.
Haga, it means like a thing, and hagga, it means what Allah said.
Thank you.
We can move to the next usage of kida, back to kida. In page number 4, kida can refer back to something just mentioned, as in so or thus. In English, when you tell someone, I have told him to do this and this and that, and then someone else would say, yes, I said so, without the need to repeat, like the reported speech, So we say kida exactly as we use it in English when we say so. We can read this mini dialogue. Who would like to join? Okay, Eric and Abed. Can you read this? Okay.
اوكي لازم حد ينصح محمود انه يرجع الشغل تاني.
Can you say it a little bit slower, because we have people who are non-Arabs, okay?
لازم حد ينصح محمود انه يرجع الشغل تاني.
حسين قال له كده، بس المشكلة انه مسافر كمان اسبوع.
Well, Eric, you just said it, but in an Algerian accent. So, Hussein, not قال. We say it قال له. We in Egyptian yes, قال له كده.
Okay. حسين قال له كده، بس المشكلة إنه مسافر كمان أسبوع.
Exactly. So here the translation goes as someone needs to advise Mahmoud to go back to work. إنه that he should يرجع شغل تاني, to go back to work again. Hussein, now the number B is responding. Hussein did, or Hussein told him so. He has already said the same thing, that he needs to get back to work again. But the problem is that he's going away in a week. He's like traveling in a week. بس المشكلة, the problem is that, of course, we refer to that by إنه he مسافر كمان أسبوع. He is traveling in a week. So as we can see here in this usage, it's merely the exact same usage of so in English in that sense. I told him so, without having to repeat the very same sentence again. Can we get back again to maybe this time Erica and Segal? How about that?
Guys, sorry for interrupting. I am very happy to join this room, and I am grateful to meet you all and you, Ala. I have to leave now, but I hope to join you in coming rooms.
Thank you so much, Sharif, for joining, and we will be hosting every week, inshallah. I'm planning to make like 12 to 15 sessions under the same title, Talk Like an Egyptian.
That's very good and useful also. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day. Segal and Erica, would you like to read the next mini dialogue?
Okay, go ahead, Erica. أنا مش قلتك لازتلو.
Okay, أنا مش قلتلك.
قلتلك.
لازم. Sorry. That's a male. So أنا مش قلتلك, not لك. Sorry.
قلتلك.
أنا مش قلتلك, because she's addressing a male. Okay. قلتلك. لازم. Go ahead.
Okay. أنا مش قلتلك لازم تروح
لدكتور.
قلب.
You say قلب here, Ala?
Yes, قلب. We don't say قلب. So أنا مش قلتلك لازم تروح لدكتور قلب.
ما أنا عملت كده فعلا. Is that correct?
Perfect, yeah.
If it's Cairene, it will be عملت كده فعلا. If it's Alexandrian, we would say عملت. That's a side note, okay? That's the difference, pretty much the difference between Cairene and Alexandrian Egyptian colloquial. So ما أنا عملت كده فعلا or ما أنا عملت كده فعلا. Of course, the most common is the Cairene, like we said, عملت كده فعلا. عملت كده, I did so. That's what it means. أنا مش قلت لك, didn't I tell you, لازم تروح لدكتور قلب. You should go see a cardiologist. دكتور قلب is a cardiologist. I did so. ما أنا عملت كده فعلا. I already did so. Here, كده means so. We're gonna finalize today by the enthusiastic كده. Of course, كده is a very diverse word. We will continue next time, inshallah, the other usages of كده. And then maybe the following weeks, we can go into another word. So today, let's wrap up with كده, the enthusiastic one. An enthusiastic كده, often accompanied by thumbs up, describes someone or something as great, super, or perfect. Now here it has to do with the tone. When someone asks me for something, how was it? And I say, oh, it was كده, and then I make a thumbs up, it means like it was super perfect. I'm referring to the thumbs up I'm doing, or sometimes it's a thumbs up, or the other one where you have like the index and the thumb joined, and then the three others are free. You know this emoji?
Like when something is delicious.
Yes. So to give, it's usually accompanied with an enthusiastic tone, sometimes also كان كده. And sometimes, more often, it's accompanied with, like a nonverbal gesture, like the thumbs up and so on. Okay, so we can have Uwiju and Erica.
Am I Alif or?
Yes, okay, go ahead, Uwiju.
Okay.
I'm sorry, it's the next one, right? Super. Is that understood?
Yes.
Sorry, I'm a little...
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yep. البوفي امبارح كان الميل
عامل
ازاي في الفرح والباو في
It's a non-Arabic word, Uwiju. Uwiju, it's a non-Arabic word. Will buffet, which is buffet, simply buffet. Okay?
اوكي والبوفيه امبارح كان عامل ازاي في
فرح, yes.
لا معو أكشو كان
كده. Okay, the first word, the first part of the sentence, لا ما أقولكش. We have double L sound, okay? ما أقولكش.
لا so here I have to لا okay.
We say لا and لا, both. We say sometimes لا without a hamza. We say لا, and sometimes we say لا, okay? So we have three ways to say no in Egyptian Arabic. Here it's لا or لا. Both can work.
Okay, لا ما أقولكش
ما أقولكش.
ما أقولكش. What does that mean?
I'll just come to that shortly. Just continue.
Okay. ما أقولكش كان
كده with a stressed كده.
كان كده.
Yes.
Okay, كان كده.
كده as in a thumbs up. It was super. It was perfect. It was great. Here, Ouija was asking you, the buffet, امبارح, yesterday, كان عامل ازاي? How was it? عامل ازاي? Like, how was it? Okay? And how was the buffet at the wedding yesterday? لا ما أقولكش, or لا ما أقولكش, as we said. Now, this is an exclamatory expression where you say, oh, I should, like, when in English you say, it's used often in a negative context, like, don't ask, it was horrible. But we use the same thing, the same negative sentence, but in another sense, oh, I shouldn't tell you. It's like something like, it's like undescribable. لا ما أقولكش, I cannot tell you. It was undescribable. It was perfect. It was super. Okay? So in this context, it's a positive connotation.
Okay. I have one question here.
Sure.
What was the word yesterday in the sentence?
امبارح.
امبارح. Okay.
One.
Hello.
Go ahead.
I have like a sentence. Tell me if it's used or not. Yesterday we discussed yasta word, and in a sentence we can say yasta keda. Yasta keda. It means like what's that man? And it's great, right?
Well, yasta keda is kind of taken out of context. It's not a full sentence. Yasta is we use it to address drivers in general, and sometimes in street men address each other in this way.
I know.
But yasta keda, it's like kind of like a cut sentence. We can say keda yasta, it would make more sense, like answering to something, like this way yasta. Okay?
Okay. Yeah, I got you, yeah.
Okay. You're most welcome. So, let's wrap it up with the last mini dialogue and recap the usages we've covered so far today. I am very much aware of the ones that we have skipped, so don't worry. Next Saturday, inshallah, we will be going through the rest, which is مش كده, كده كده, كده ولا كده, كده وكده. We have a lot of usages for كده. So, today we just covered all the variant usages and meanings of كده, a single كده. So, the last dialogue starting with الميكانيكي. Who would like to read? Sagal and Abid, we can say. Let's make Alif as Abid, and Sagal, you will play B, okay?
Alright. So, الميكانيكي اللي قلت لك عليه عارف يصلح عربيتك. هيدا سؤال سوري. So, الميكانيكي اللي قلت لك عليه عارف يصلح عربيتك.
مش عايز أقولك.
مش عايزة أقولك.
مش عايز أقولك.
عايزة. You're a female, so عايزة.
Okay, مش عايزة أقولك. طلع ميكاني أي كده.
ميكانيكي.
ميكانيكي
إيه
كده.
Okay, so we have 3 sentences here. مش عايزة أقولك, it's just like ما أقولكش, I don't say, I don't tell you. مش عايزة أقولك, I don't want to tell you, and they both have the same sense of you won't believe it, you know? It's undescribable. ده طلع ميكانيكي إيه? What a mechanic he turned out to be. A here, it's not a literal meaning of a question. It's an exclamatory A. What a mechanic he turned out to be. And then she gives the third sentence, which is the answer, كده. He was perfect. Okay? He was wonderful. He could fix the car right away.
I just want to say if I can repeat a dialogue with Widjo.
Sure. Maybe Uiju and Eric? You can read it again? Okay.
So this with the mechanic, okay?
Yes.
الميكانيكي اللي قلت لك علي يعرف تصلح
يصلح.
sorry يصلح عربيتك.
No, عربيتك. Now the addressee is a female. This is why he said عربيتك.
If it for Eric.
Oh, okay. Okay, great.
And I say مش عايز أقولك ده طلع ميكانيكي إيه كده.
Now Eric has transformed to make it مش عايز أقولك into a masculine form. مش عايزة if it was a feminine form. مش عايزة أقولك or مش عايزة أقولك ده طلع ميكانيكي إيه كده. Wonderful. One last thing about Abid's pronunciation and Uiju as well. When it comes to الميكانيكي اللي قلتلك or قلتلك accordingly عليه عرف يصلح عربيتك. Usually when we say عربيتك. We say عربية when it's just without any suffixes, عربية as in car. But when we add a personal pronoun to it, so عربيتك, because it's harder on the tongue, you know. So
okay.
You get it? And like we said, عرف is the Cairene. If we were to say it, Alexandrians, we would say عرف. عرف يصلح عربيتك. We often tend to make the diacritics all to fatha in past verbs. Okay?
Interesting.
Yes, but the Cairene, you guys learned the Cairene. I just can't help but add my Alexandrian touch, so... Okay. So, recapping on the different meanings and usages we've covered so far. So we have Keda as like this or in that manner. We have Keda as a filler or a softener, like we said in libasi Keda ya madam, and so on. And we have Keda as in so or thus, when we don't need to repeat the whole reported speech again or the whole sentence again. And we have the enthusiastic Keda, which means super or perfect, often accompanied with a thumbs up or as such. لا ما أقولكش كان كده كان ده حاجة كده فظيعة يعني it's wonderful يعني. So next time inshallah we will be tackling مش كده as a question tag كده كده and كده وكده and كده ولا كده and هي بقت كده or بقى كده and also على كده. Okay? So I hope you guys enjoyed today's room and today's first episode of this podcast posted on Tripod, the Trilingual Podcast. If you have any questions or any final comments, I'm all ears.
I just want to say it was Keda.
Thank you so much, Eric.
I want to give you a feedback for the book real quick. So I bought the book and downloaded everything, all the audios, but I just listened to a bit of them. I want to congratulate you for the decision, an intelligent decision, to use the harakat or tashkil with the rule that when you have nothing, it's just the hatta. So it's a very useful thing to do because otherwise it would be very detailed and maybe a bit tiring for the eyes. So when you know the rule, it's everything fine. Now, second, the phrases are very colloquial, and I feel like I don't have the guts to say I'm at A1, okay, in Masri, but I feel like with this book I can surely get more fluent, especially with the audios. The audio is cool. I like the voices and the intonations, and also finally, why not the design of the book? I bought the PDF. It's very nice. So it's also important to have a nice medium, nice visual. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Uwiju, for your feedback. I truly appreciate it. I have to tell you that this was a collaborative effort. So the diacritics part, to be more precise and to be honest with you, it was Matthew's contribution because he is an Egyptian colloquial Arabic learner himself. So he knows what's best for the non-Arab learner, what's easier for the eye. So this is what makes this book special because we used to make a lot of brainstorming. My main contribution was making sure that everything sounds natural, it's high frequent, but he had all the other final touches, the different layers of meanings and the usages and so on, because he knows what a learner really needs. I'm really glad that you liked it and you find it useful. And thank you so much for this wonderful feedback.
Oh, please relay my congrats to him.
Sure. Actually, it will be posted in the podcast, and he will post it on his website as well.
Can you do PTR and see my picture?
Okay, Erica. Thank you so much. Wonderful. That's just Keda. You know what you just did is Keda. Thank you so much, Erica. Thank you, everyone. Uwiju, Sumaya, Erica, Abid, Omar, Sagal, Eric, and Sharif. Also, we had Sharif. And everyone else in the room, Hannah, Hussam, Tasneem, and we had Yasmin earlier. Everyone who has joined, and those I've mentioned and those I've missed, I'm sorry. But it was really lovely having you all. Looking forward to seeing you again next Saturday, same time, 10 a.m. Cairo time. We will continue Keda, and then the following week we will start a new expression. Send me your requests if you have a certain idiomatic expression in your mind that you would like us to discuss. Hopefully, it would be already in the book. Uwiju, you can help with that since you have the book already. You can have the book on lingualism as an ebook or on Amazon as a paperback copy. And see you. Ma salama. Thank you for listening to Tripod, the Trilingual Podcast in its English version. You don't have to like, share, or repost, and we don't have to ask you for this. Just do what you feel like you want to do. Looking forward to having you back.